Now I'll show you the round you want to see in a moment, but Mirage wasn't the only map that went to overtime for the Blast Rival Finals. Train also went the distance, going overtime, again going Furia's way. And part of the reason of that was because of this round here, where Falcons won the pistol round, and then now they're on their anti-force buy, and we're going to see Furia again pick up this round. And we're going to start from Yukinda's point of view, a little bit of homework if you want to learn that smoke for main that he throws out of spawn. But we're going to have two players come here in towards Pop Dog, and then Yukinda's going to go back here, ready to flash this upper B halls area. Falcons take control of that area, and what we're going to see in a moment is this flash come out. There it flies. We're going to have Kscerato and his friend come up this way. And we're going to get this player taken out. Fallen's going to trade Manesi, and we're in a 4v2 situation, which Furia are able to close up with Kscerato getting this kill here. And then if we fast forward a little bit, we're going to have Yukinda come through the smoke, take out Tessus, and that's the force by 1 for Furia, sending them back on track for a strong second half. But what goes wrong for Falcons on this round? It's a pretty standard kind of situation. Kixon comes in towards main, he nades and mollies outside Pop Dog, which you can see stops the two Furia members from moving into that area of the map too fast into the round. They have to wait for that Molotov before going in. And you can see from Nico's point of view, he's even looking at it and standing still, trying to listen if anyone takes any kind of tick in that molly that could be pushing in. So he's very aware of this. He then follows it up with his own molly before him and Keisuke get flashed and they peek this lower ramp area. And you can see that Yuri showed his shadow there, which distracts these players for a second. And it is this pause at the top of low ramp, which is one of the two factors that cause Falcons to lose this round. The other is this flash. However, look at how Nico and Keisuke are moving. They're anti-flash for each other right now because they know this flash is possible, which will blind Manesi, which means that Nico will have to turn around and frag that, and at least for the initial period they don't have to worry about lower because they just cleared that position. However, those of you with a keener eye might have noticed that Manesi's positioning wasn't optimal either. Obviously he has to hold upper here when they're checking lower, but once his teammates are down and back underneath him, you can see that right now when he's about to get flashed, he's actually not needed to be peeking this right now because Keisuke is going to see Fallen before Manesi even does. So Manesi may as well be anti-flash here so that when this does go off, he can cover his team properly. But you can see there's a delay in him being able to cover here, which means he's slow to get those frags onto the two players. Now, in fairness to Manesi, I want you to look at this right now. I've paused it. You can see he's currently wider than his two teammates below him, so it makes sense for him to be holding Fallen's position. The flash is already on the way from Yukinda, and look at the timing here where he should have been anti-flash when he wasn't. It's literally half a second maximum. So while what I'm saying is technically true, in reality, when you're on stage, you're trying to cover each other, you don't want to stop covering your teammates too early. It's a very minor mistake from Manesi, and one we wouldn't expect from a perfectly programmed robot, but Furia did hit this timing perfectly, and it did play a part in the Falcons losing this round. The other was, of course, what we talked about with Yuri, I think purposely slowing his shadow to slow down those players wanting to look at him from the top of low ramp, because in the custom server, this is how things normally would go down. You'd Molotov the top of the stairs, you'd get flashed, you'd check lower, and then you'd come back here, and you'd actually be waiting for this Molotov before you could then claim this angle here and have control of where Kscerato was trying to come up. Because you can see from Kcerato's point of view, he's waiting here at the bottom of the ramp for the Molotov, which spreads all the way down. So he's going to be the second member to the fight on this corner here. So definitely advantage for the T side. The other thing, if he's waiting here, you can see they'd also get the kill Falcons, and then they're also in a much stronger position to potentially pivot and take these fights here. If they don't get traded out in this position here. But the fact that you can see they get caught out in the open, they're not there when their Molotov fades, that's the other key reason that Furia are able to run up here, pincer them, and secure this round. Now, what about this 1v4 from Kscerato? The first two kills come in relatively quickly. Before it stabilizes, he plants default with 13 HP, and he's going to reposition himself to sandwich, as I'm sure you all know by now. It's a great positioning for him. He wants to try and play a spot where maybe he can catch two players running in together so that they can't trade him and he can get a quick multi-kill. And you can see that's because the Falcons, they know that they don't want to get doubled up here. They're going to send someone in to try and find him and then trust the other one to clean up versus the low HP player. So Tessus is going to go and search for site by himself, while Manesi plays around here and waits to potentially trade. But because Kscerato's picked a weird spot in sandwich, you can see that they actually basically line up for him, both peeking at the same time and never clearing that position properly. Kaisuke is the first player to go down in the 1v4, and honestly, I don't think he plays this too poorly. Kixon's taking attention from triple, so he peeks out on top of Sandwich, knowing attention's going to be drawn his way, and Kscerato hits a nice shot into him. Kixon then tries to play back off his teammate, but he's also really low HP, and Kscerato is able to easily transfer and be the one that just connects that one body shot first. So the 2v1 isn't that unreasonable for Falcon, but how they're playing this 2v1, I'm not a huge fan of. First off, the spamming. I think Manessi's doing a good job here. He's spamming the mid-site cross to try and stop Kscerato going towards CT, which is going to limit his options. However, Tessus doesn't really follow up the spam from Manessi. He just sits here silently, and I'm not really sure what he's doing. If he was holding the smoke for Kscerato to push through it like a madman, maybe I'd let him off, but he's not spamming, he's not doing anything, he's just kind of sitting here and waiting. I would have liked there to be a bit that more pressure on the spam on the back of Manessi to try and limit where Kscerato can move. They don't know that he's exactly 13 HP, but they know he's a little bit low and unlikely to walk into spam lines. So what ends up happening is Tessus ends up going in first, with Manessi playing to trade him. And I want you to think about what Falcons know once Tessus gets to this position here. And that's that the only position on the map that Kscerato could be where he's playing for the bomb is in CT spawn, which is why you see Tessus focusing on it, because he doesn't want to get shot in the back of the head and it turned to a 1v1 from that position. And that's why we say Manessi start to make a beeline for the bomb, is he now knows he has to join up with Tessus, because otherwise that CT player could come into play, and that's the most dangerous spot right now. And if he gets caught crossing, like Kscerato does, Tessus should theoretically trade or tap the bomb and have a really advantageous 1v1. However, Kscerato does catch him crossing, but Tessus has his knife out, which you should never do in this scenario. He just had to chill and let his teammate join him on site, and they would win this together regardless of where Kscerato is. But he didn't chill, which means when Kscerato does catch the player crossing, he then ends up getting a double kill because Tessus just was a little bit panicky in this situation. So Falcons really only missed it by a hair. But these little details matter, and Furia are the ones lifting the trophy. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe.